Some women will do anything to avoid facing it. They'll create elaborate stories, blame entire gender populations, rewrite reality itself rather than confront this one simple fact. It's no. There's a truth so uncomfortable that about aging, it's not about looks. It's not even about being alone. The truth that terrifies them more than anything else is this. They might be the reason they're still single. Not men, not society, not circumstances, them. Let me explain why this truth is so devastating and why avoiding it guarantees perpetual loneliness. The gap between public claims and private reality is massive. Publicly, you'll see posts about living my best life and I don't need a man. But privately, different story. I counsel women who cry themselves to sleep, wondering why nobody wants them, who check their phones obsessively, hoping for a text that never comes, who pretend they're choosing solitude when solitude is choosing them. One client, successful, lawyer, 38 years old, posts constantly about female empowerment and independence. In our sessions, she admits she hasn't been held in 2 years, hasn't been on a real date in 18 months, goes to weddings alone, and leaves early because watching couples dance breaks her. But check her Instagram. You'd think she was living a movie. The emotional distress caused by unwanted solitude is real and crushing. It's the silence when you come home. The empty bed that feels bigger every night. The realization that if you disappeared, it might take days for anyone to notice. No one's checking if you made it home safe. No one cares what your day was like. No one's planning a future with you. But here's what makes it worse. Society glamorizes this isolation. Every magazine, every blog, every influencer tells women that being single is empowering, that needing partnership is weakness, that wanting love is settling. So, these women suffer in silence, pretending they're thriving while dying inside. Because admitting loneliness means admitting failure in the current cultural narrative. The cultural messaging actively denies women's accountability for their situation. Modern narratives insist women are perfect by default. If she's single, it's because men aren't good enough. If she's struggling, it's because society failed her. If she's unhappy, it's everyone else's fault. This protective bubble prevents the self-reflection necessary for change. The forbidden question, "Why are you still single?" triggers rage because it implies responsibility. It suggests maybe, just maybe, there's something she could change, something she's doing or not doing that affects outcomes. But that can't be true because she's been told her whole life that she's amazing exactly as she is, and any man would be lucky to have her. So instead, popular explanations emerge that remove all responsibility. Relationships harm women more than men. Really? Who initiates 70% of divorces? Who gets custody, alimony, assets? All the good men are taken. Strange how other women found them? Men are intimidated by my success. Your success or your attitude about your success? These socially accepted explanations persist not because they're true, but because they're comfortable. They protect ego. They avoid painful self-examination. They let someone stay exactly the same while expecting different results. It's easier to say men are trash than to ask, "What am I doing wrong?" I had a client who spent 5 years repeating these mantras. Men were intimidated by her PhD. Men couldn't handle her salary. Men were threatened by her independence. Then she watched her assistant, less educated, lower salary, equally independent, get married to a great guy. The cognitive dissonance almost broke her. The relationship dynamics actually favor women in most modern partnerships. Contrary to popular narrative, emotional labor, men are expected to be therapists. Domestic work, many men do equal or more. Financial contributions still predominantly male legal protection, overwhelmingly female favoring. Yet the story persists that relationships are bad deals for women. High unrealistic standards push away perfectly good partners. Some women want a man who's strong but not toxic, successful but always available, confident but never argumentative, traditional but feminist, Pays for everything but isn't controlling. Leads, but always follows her lead. It's not a partner they want. It's a customizable robot. The confusion grows when men's feedback is completely rejected. Men say, "I didn't call back because she was rude to the waiter." Response, "He couldn't handle a strong woman." Men say, "She seemed emotionally unstable." Response, "Men fear women's emotions." Every piece of feedback gets reframed as male inadequacy rather than useful information. A male friend told me about a date where the woman spent 2 hours complaining about her exes, interrupted him constantly, and checked her phone throughout dinner. When he didn't pursue a second date, she told everyone he was intimidated by her confidence. No, he was repelled by her behavior, but she'll never know that because the truth is forbidden. Still in the picture. Drinking problems disguised as wine culture. Emotional volatility framed as passion. These patterns guarantee relationship failure, but acknowledging them requires change. Emotional instability gets repackaged as depth. "I'm just very feeling-oriented." No, you're emotionally dysregulated. "I'm passionate." No, you have no impulse control. "I'm complex." No, you're exhausting. Men aren't avoiding your depth. They're avoiding your dysfunction. But therapy requires admitting problems, so the dysfunction continues. The lack of discipline shows up everywhere. Can't stick to a workout routine, but expects lasting love. Can't maintain friendships, but wants a life partner. Can't manage finances, but wants to build wealth together. Can't control temper, but wants intimate trust. Discipline in one area predicts discipline in others, and its absence is visible. Unpleasant behavior gets justified as authenticity. Being rude is keeping it real. Being demanding is knowing my worth. Being critical is having standards. Being combative is not taking any. But authentically unpleasant is still unpleasant. Men aren't rejecting your authenticity. They're rejecting your behavior. The family question matters more than some women realize. Not wanting children is fine, but it eliminates men who do. Wanting children urgently can seem desperate. Having children from multiple men suggests poor judgment. Being unsure at 35 wastes everyone's time. Men factor in family goals, and incompatibility here ends things quickly. The call to self-improvement gets rejected as changing for a man. But it's not about changing for someone else. It's about becoming someone worth choosing. Everyone improves for goals. You study for careers, train for sports, practice for skills. Why is improving for relationships suddenly offensive? Feminist peer groups actively discourage accountability. Any suggestion of self-improvement is victim blaming. Any male feedback is gaslighting. Any traditional value is internalized misogyny. These groups keep women stuck in cycles of blame and resentment that guarantee continued singleness. I watched a friend group destroy a woman's chance at happiness. She met a good man who gently suggested she might drink less. Her friends convinced her he was controlling and trying to change her. She left him. 5 years later, she's still single, still drinking, still wondering why she can't find anyone like him. Personal responsibility for healing past trauma gets avoided through perpetual victimhood. Yes, bad things happened. Yes, people hurt you. But using past pain as an excuse for present dysfunction doesn't attract partners. It repels them. Men aren't rehabilitation centers. They're looking for partners, not projects. The therapy speak without therapy work phenomenon is everywhere. Some women know all the terms, attachment styles, trauma responses, boundaries, but do none of the work. They use psychological language to justify dysfunction rather than fix it. Knowing you have anxious attachment doesn't excuse toxic behavior. It obligates you to address it. Men have the right to be selective based on any criteria they choose. Past partner account matters to some men. Mental health history matters. Family background matters. Career stability matters. These aren't unfair judgments. They're risk assessments for lifetime partnership. But suggesting men can have standards triggers rage. Compatibility involves factors women don't want to acknowledge. Physical attraction, sexual compatibility, domestic skills, financial responsibility, emotional stability, social grace, family planning, values alignment. Men evaluate all of this just like women do, but only male selectiveness gets labeled as shallow or cruel. A man told me he stopped dating a woman because she had no relationship with her father, fought constantly with her mother, and all her siblings were disasters. He saw patterns, dysfunction, future problems. She told everyone he was afraid of commitment. No, he was afraid of chaos, and rightfully so. The lifestyle assessment men do is comprehensive. How does she treat service workers? How does she manage stress? How does she handle conflict? What are her friends like? How does she spend money? What's her living space like? These observations predict future partnership quality, and men absolutely pay attention. Values and stability matter more as men mature. Young guys might overlook red flags for beauty. Older men won't. They've learned that pretty fades. Crazy stays forever. They want peace, not passion. Stability, not excitement. Partnership, not project management. But women showing instability wonder why mature men aren't interested. The promise of positive outcomes through change is real. I've seen women transform their dating lives through honest self-assessment and improvement, lost weight, found partners, addressed mental health, found love, developed femininity, attracted masculinity, changed attitudes, changed outcomes. But it required admitting the problem was internal, not external. One client, 36 years old, complained for years about no good men. Finally did the work. Therapy for her anger issues, lost 30 pounds, stopped drinking, developed actual interests beyond Netflix. Within a year, she met her now husband. Same city, same age, same dating pool, different her, different results. Self-reflection questions that lead to change. Am I pleasant to be around? Would I date myself? What do I actually offer besides my presence? Am I healing or hemorrhaging? Do I add value or extract it? These questions hurt because they often reveal uncomfortable answers. Discipline improvements that change everything. Workout routine, financial management, emotional regulation, time management, home maintenance, social skills. These aren't about becoming perfect. They're about becoming capable of partnership. A partner should enhance your life, not be required to manage it. Emotional maturity markers men look for. Can she disagree without fighting? Can she be wrong without melting down? Can she support without controlling? Can she receive feedback without attacking? Can she handle stress without exploding? These abilities determine relationship viability more than any physical attribute. Healthier habits that attract quality partners. Reading over scrolling, cooking over ordering, exercise over excuses, creation over consumption, growth over comfort, gratitude over complaint. These shifts signal someone investing in themselves, which attracts others willing to invest in them. Traditional values that work regardless of modern messaging. Respect, nurturing, supportiveness, femininity, grace, loyalty, discretion. These aren't outdated concepts. They're timeless relationship enhancers. But some women reject them as oppression while wondering why relationships feel like warfare. The rejection prevention possible through honest change is remarkable. Most factors keeping women single are changeable. Weight, attitude, behavior, habits, skills, mindset, all modifiable. Even age effects can be minimized through health and vitality. But change requires admitting current state isn't working. Here's what some women don't understand. Men want to choose them. Men want partnerships. Men want love. But they want it with someone who adds value, not extracts it. Who brings peace, not chaos. Who offers support, not criticism. Who provides warmth, not warfare. The male perspective on long-term singleness is simple. If multiple men across years have all chosen not to commit, the common denominator isn't men, It's like being fired from every job and blaming all the bosses. At some point, self-reflection becomes mandatory for different results. The protection racket of modern feminism keeps women from this realization. Any suggestion of female accountability gets attacked. Any male standard gets demonized. Any traditional value gets pathized. This protective bubble feels supportive, but actually prevents the growth necessary for partnership success. I counsel women drowning in this messaging who can't understand their loneliness. They've done everything feminism told them, prioritized career, maintained independence, never settled. But they're 40, single, childless, wondering what went wrong. The ideology that promised empowerment delivered isolation. The friend group reinforcement of destructive patterns is devastating. Misery loves company. Single friends keep each other single through bad advice, bitter perspectives, and sabotage disguised as support. You don't need him becomes you don't need anyone becomes why am I alone? The social media delusion makes everything worse. Comparing real life to curated highlights, seeking validation from strangers, performing happiness rather than creating it, building online persona while neglecting real development. The gap between digital projection and reality becomes unbridgeable. Dating apps created an illusion of infinite options that paralyze choice. Why work on yourself when Prince Charming might swipe right tomorrow? Why address issues when the next match might not care? Why settle for good when perfect might be one swipe away? But perfect never comes, and good stops trying. The accountability allergy in modern culture prevents growth. Everything is someone else's fault. Every failure needs external blame. Every disappointment requires a villain. But growth requires ownership. Change requires admission. Improvement requires acknowledgement. That current state needs improving. Some women wake up to this truth too late. After years of blaming men, circumstances, society, timing, suddenly clarity hits, usually around 40 when options dwindle and reality becomes undeniable. The anger at men transforms into anger at themselves, then hopefully into action. But so much time wasted. The success stories I've seen all follow the same pattern. Woman admits she might be the problem, seeks honest feedback, makes concrete changes, addresses internal issues, develops actual value. Suddenly, mysteriously, good men appear. Same world, different her, different results. The resistance to this message will be fierce. Some women reading this are already formulating arguments about why this doesn't apply to them, why their singleness really is because men are intimidated, why their standards aren't too high, why change would be betraying themselves. That resistance is the prison. The brutal truth about male selection is that it's usually rational. Men aren't randomly rejecting quality women. They're avoiding specific behaviors, patterns, and characteristics that predict relationship failure. Understanding what these are and addressing them opens doors that seemed permanently closed. Physical presentation matters more than women want to admit. Not about being perfect, but about showing effort. Fitness signals discipline. Style signals awareness. Grooming signals self-respect. These aren't shallow concerns. They're indicators of how someone manages their life. The mental health factor can't be ignored. Men increasingly screen for emotional stability. Too many have been burned by partners who use them as emotional regulation. Anxiety, depression, personality disorders. These need management before partnership. Using relationships as therapy destroys them. The social circle quality affects partner quality. Surround yourself with bitter divorced women. Attract men who expect bitterness. Surround yourself with happy couples. Attract men who want partnership. Your social circle signals your values and your future trajectory. Communication styles that attract versus repel, clear versus manipulative, direct versus passive-aggressive, calm versus explosive. constructive versus destructive. Men are exhausted by emotional warfare, disguised as communication. They're drawn to women who can discuss, without destroying the sexual marketplace reality that some women refuse to acknowledge. Youth and beauty are female advantages that decline. Wealth and status are male advantages that increase. Fighting this reality doesn't change it. Working within it does, but that requires strategy, not ideology. The time factor some women ignore until too late. Men can father children into their 70s. Women's fertility window is finite. This creates different urgencies and strategies. Denying this biological reality doesn't make it disappear. It just makes planning impossible. The partnership model versus the princess model. Partners contribute equally to different areas. Princesses expect service without reciprocation. Most modern women say they want partnership while acting like princesses. Men recognize this disconnect and opt out. Skills that matter more than degrees. Can you create a home, manage a budget, cook nutritious meals, handle conflict, support a want to admit? Not about being perfect, but about showing effort. Fitness signals discipline. Style signals awareness. Grooming signals self-respect. These aren't shallow concerns. They're indicators of how someone manages their life. The mental health factor can't be ignored. Men increasingly screen for emotional stability. Too many have been burned by partners who use them as emotional regulation. Anxiety, depression, personality disorders. These need management before partnership. Using relationships as therapy destroys them. The social circle quality affects partner quality. Surround yourself with bitter divorced women. Attract men who expect bitterness. Surround yourself with happy couples. Attract men who want partnership. Your social circle signals your values and your future trajectory. Communication styles that attract versus repel, clear versus manipulative, direct versus passive-aggressive, calm versus explosive, constructive versus destructive. Men are exhausted by emotional warfare, disguised as communication. They're drawn to women who can discuss, without destroying the sexual marketplace reality that some women refuse to acknowledge. Youth and beauty are female advantages that decline. Wealth and status are male advantages that increase. Fighting this reality doesn't change it. Working within it does, but that requires strategy, not ideology. The time factor some women ignore until too late. Men can father children into their 70s. Women's fertility window is finite. This creates different urgencies and strategies. Denying this biological reality doesn't make it disappear. It just makes planning impossible. The partnership model versus the princess model. Partners contribute equally to different areas. Princesses expect service without reciprocation. Most modern women say they want partnership while acting like princesses. Men recognize this disconnect and opt out. Skills that matter more than degrees. Can you create a home, manage a budget, cook nutritious meals, handle conflict, support a programmed to respond to certain traits and behaviors? When women develop these instead of fighting them, attraction follows, not from all men, but from the ones worth having. The tragedy is how preventable most female loneliness is. A few adjustments, some internal work, basic improvements, these change everything. But the protective ideology preventing these changes guarantees continued isolation. The very thing claiming to empower women imprisons them. I see the damage daily. Women in their 40s and 50s who bought the lie, who blamed men for decades, who refused accountability, now facing aging alone, no children, no legacy, no love, angry at the world, but mostly at themselves for believing what felt good instead of what worked. The younger generation has a chance to avoid this fate. Learn from the mistakes, recognize the patterns, accept the truths, make the changes, or join the growing population of older women wondering where all the good men went while refusing to ask why good men went elsewhere. The market correction happening now is brutal but necessary. Women who offer little demanding everything are being left behind. Women who bring value are getting chosen. The entitlement bubble is bursting. Reality is reasserting itself, despite ideology's protests. Men aren't the enemy. Biology isn't oppression. Standards aren't discrimination. Preferences aren't prejudice. The sooner some women accept this, the sooner they can work within reality instead of against it. But that requires abandoning the comfortable lies for uncomfortable truths. The ultimate truth some women fear more than anything: you're single because of you. Your choices, your behavior, your attitude, your refusal to change. Not bad luck, not bad men, not bad timing. You, and until you accept this, nothing changes. But accepting it changes everything. Because what you control, you can change. What you change changes. Outcomes. The power was always yours. You just had to stop giving it away to blame, excuses, and ideology that keeps you stuck. The clock is ticking for some women. Every year spent in denial is a year closer to permanent solitude. Every rejection blamed on men is a missed opportunity for growth. Every excuse is another bar on the prison you're building yourself. The choice is simple, but not easy. Face the truth and change, or avoid it and remain alone. The truth that terrifies can also transform. The accountability that seems cruel is actually kind. The mirror that shows flaws also shows the path to fixing them. Some women will read this and change their lives. Others will read it and change nothing except their excuses. The difference between them isn't circumstances, it's courage. The courage to admit imperfection. The courage to take responsibility. The courage to change. The truth women fear more than anything isn't judgment or rejection or even loneliness. It's that they had the power to change their outcomes all along, but chose comfort over growth, ideology over reality, blame over responsibility. That's the terror that it was always fixable, but they chose to stay broken. I want to hear from both sides. Women who faced hard truths and changed their lives. What was your turning point? Men who walked away. Women who refused accountability. What made you leave? Share your stories below. Let's have the conversation that needs to happen, even if it's uncomfortable. Because comfortable lies got us here, and only uncomfortable truth gets out.